So, we'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting of the Board of Education of Anne Arundel County. This meeting is being televised live on AACPS TV and streamed on the AACPS YouTube channel. General information and protocols for the meeting are posted on the sign by the doorway as you enter the room, so please make sure that you read those if you have not already done so. At this time, we're going to have our invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance, stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. And now for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to be moving on to item 2.03, the approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have consensus?
No.
Appears that we do. Okay, item 2.04, establish our agenda order. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Consensus? We have consensus. Okay, so we're going to be moving on to item 2.05, our student equity in action spotlight.
Tonight, the board is excited to recognize a student who supports his school and gives back to his community. He is a true ambassador and demonstrates an incredible ability to make community connections. He's a shining example of how people with specialized needs possess valuable skills and talents that make them excellent candidates for employment. Congratulations to Danny Lee Bolton, a 10th grader at Central Special School. Danny is actively engaged in supporting Central Special School cafeteria by assisting classrooms with daily meal cleanup. He assists the younger students at Central Special by helping them get to the school bus safely and is a participant in the Be Present initiative. Additionally, Danny participates in the Central Special School vocational program. This program has given Danny an opportunity to work at local businesses. While at work, Danny greets customers, loads cars, and interacts with other local business leaders in his community. Danny is supported at his job site by paraprofessionals, a vocational teacher, and a transition facilitator. Danny has been able to improve his communication skills and his overall job readiness. The people that Danny meets at his job site are enriched by by exposure to his diverse perspectives, talents, and unique abilities. Danny Lee Bolton, you are an outstanding example of equity in practice. We are so proud to recognize you as the December 2024 Student Equity in Action Spotlight. Congratulations. Danny, would you please come forward to accept this recognition?
Here you are. This is an incredible plaque for you. And these are the lovely words that were written about you. And this is a beautiful certificate. Right here.
Danny, look at her. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jenny.
Okay, we're going to be taking a short break for photographs.
I think Ms. Pulliam had a couple things she wanted.
Oh, okay, well, oh yes, I do see some lights. So before we take that break, Ms. Pulliam?
I just wanted to congratulate you, Danny. That is so awesome. And more importantly, thank you for what you do in the classroom and in the building and outside. You are a shining star and a pillar of excellence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pulliam. He is a shining star. What excitement. Boy, I wish that were contagious. That's wonderful. All right, so now we're going to take a very short break for some photographs. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So at this time, we're going to be moving on to our public comments on agenda item section 3. And before we begin with that, this is one of the opportunities that the board provides to hear the views and receive the advice of community members. The members of this board appreciate hearing from interested citizens. As appropriate, we will refer your concerns to the superintendent for follow-up. While we encourage public input on policies, programs, and practices within the purview of this board and the school system, this is not the proper forum to address specific student or employee matters or to comment on matters that do not relate to public education in Arundel County. I remind everyone that any inappropriate personal remarks or other behavior that disrupts or interferes with the conduct of this meeting are out of order. It is not the board's general practice to engage in question and answer sessions with speakers. For the record, please give your name before speaking. If you have any handouts, they should be given to the board, our board assistant. I ask that all speakers observe the 2-minute clock. A yellow light will shine when you have 30 seconds remaining, and a tone will sound when your time has expired. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the tone. If you continue after your time has expired, the mic may be turned off. So at this point in time, I believe we have one speaker this evening. If I could have Delilah Shore come forward. Delilah.
Hello, my name is Delilah Shore, and this is my 8th grade Changemaker group from Central Middle School. Earlier this year, I went shopping for new PE shorts at my local Kohl's. We spent 20 minutes in the women's section and didn't find a single pair of school-appropriate black shorts. However, not 30 seconds after we walked into the men's section, we found 6 options. Suddenly, the choices were what was most comfortable and what style I wanted, not if I could get in trouble for wearing it. This is a problem for girls around our country and is faced every day. Studies show that girls are 5 times more likely to be dress coded than their male counterparts, and the dress code reinforces racism, sexism, and other ideas that are becoming increasingly outdated in our generation. Fresno Pacific University also did a study that found that heavy monitoring on students' clothing promotes conformity rather than adaptability, creativity, and critical thinking, the latter of which are traits that are more desirable in an educational and occupational setting. Many studies have also found that stricter dress codes can lead to eating disorders and lower test scores. We also sent out an anonymous survey to students around our school in which we got 270 responses, and this is what our research showed. Out of the survey we sent, 42% of students think the dress code is unfair, and while this isn't a majority, it's still a greatly significant number. If we apply this statistic to the entire county, around 35,000 students in ACPS feel that way. If that many people think this is a problem, then something has to be done. Of the students who responded to the survey, the dissatisfaction rate was almost 60% for girls compared to 26% among the male students. Many students expressed their disappointment in the way the dress code is enforced, saying things about how only girls seem to get dress coded and how unfair it seemed. Dress codes can lead to body image issues, and they teach girls at a young age that their bodies are shameful and that they must be modest for the boys. Other counties are already implementing less strict dress codes. For example, Baltimore County's policy says students will not wear attire that is disruptive to the school environment, that promotes illegal or harmful activities, or that could endanger the health and safety of students or other students. We think something like this would be largely beneficial to AACPS students. We would love to work with you to draft a new dress code or simply amend the current one to better benefit AACPS schools. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Shore. Ms. Schauheim.
I just want to say that I applaud your advocacy and thank you for being brave and coming and talking to us about this very, very important policy. I have a middle school kiddo myself, and so just know that I hear and I see you. And thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Schauheim. Delilah, you have some friends with you. Would you like to introduce them to us?
Yeah, this is Zoe Brigham, Megan Lewis, and Ella Smale. They are my partners this is a 8th grade project that we do in the STEM program, our Changemaker project, to inspire change in our community.
Did a great job.
Thank you.
Did a great job. So once again, thank you, and maybe we'll see you in the future also as an advocate for students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to be moving on to our report section, item 4.01, our CRASC report.
Good evening, President Silkworth, Vice President Dent, Dr. Bedell, and a special welcome to our new and returning board members. My name is Jason Semenoff Jr., my pronouns are he, him, and I'm a proud freshman at Chesapeake High School, and I'm so honored to be serving as the CRASC Secretary of Education. The MASC Fall Leadership Conference, held on November 23rd at Havre de Grace Middle High School, was a tremendous success. Students from middle and high schools across Maryland participated in interactive workshops and project playbooks focused on leadership, citizenship, service, and student voice. CRASC had an impressive turnout with 48 attendees and 14 of whom were workshop presenters. Looking ahead, MASC will host its Winter Leadership Conference on January 25th at Walter Johnson High School in Montgomery County. This event provides students with an excellent opportunity to network, learn, and participate in state SMOB election process by voting for our 2 finalists. The Winter Leadership Conference will spotlight the student member on the board, the SMOB role, featuring the selection of the 2 final nominees for the state student member of the board and celebrating SMOBs across Maryland. The conference agenda will also include a review and update of MASC's platform and discussions on youth-related bills in the Maryland General Assembly this session. Interested students are encouraged to reach out to their school's SGA advisor for more information. On Tuesday, December 10th, members of CRASC executive team and the seat ambassadors traveled to Uniondale High School in New York for a field trip sponsored by the High School Girls Policy Network. This is a leadership program facilitated by Voice for Equity. This program, designed for high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors, empowers young women to engage in public discussions, develop leadership skills, and advocate for a change within their communities. The 5-week virtual program culminated in this event where participants presented policy issues of their choice. Young women from New York, New Jersey, and AACPS showcased their skills and confidence in demonstrating their ability to lead and advocate for equity in their schools and beyond. On this slide, you'll see the schedule for our upcoming CRASC meetings in January as we return from break. As we wrap up this week and the calendar year, we want to wish everyone a safe and joyful winter break. That's all for me. See you next year.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we're moving on to our item 4.02, our PTA report.
Good evening, Dr. Bedell, Board of Education members and guests. My name is Michael Vasquez. My pronouns are they, them. I am the current president of the Anne Arundel County Council of PTAs, and I'd like to start by welcoming the newly sworn in members of the Board of Education, as well as our returning Board of Education members. I look forward to speaking with you about the role of the PTA Council and the roles of individual school PTAs in the district. Now to the latest updates. Again, I want to congratulate and welcome our newest AACC PTA board member, Amrita Jenkins from Seven Oaks Elementary School, who will serve the remainder of the school year as secretary for Anne Arundel County Council of PTAs. Late report on the Reflections program, which the Council of PTAs runs. The deadline was December 13th. We received approximately 50 entries, which is about double what we got last year. From 6 schools, and we're excited to begin judging and submitting the entries to Free State PTA. We like to wish best luck to all of our student artists, and the Reflections winners will be announced on February 3rd, 2025. In lieu of a December AACC PTA meeting, on Monday, December 30th, we are going to hold a financial training at Anne Arundel Public Library in the Odenton branch at 1325 Annapolis Road, Odenton, Maryland, from 6 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. A sign-up list has been sent to all PTAs, and we have 12 spots available out of the 25 that we opened up. So if you are on a PTA and you need your financial training for your PTA treasurer and one other officer, please make sure you sign up before all the spots are filled. Another deadline in place is the Maryland Charitable Annual Registration and Reporting Deadline, which is December 31st. All PTA members need to get this completed and sent into the state, not to us, not to the Council of PTAs, but it goes to the state as soon as possible. If you have any questions or need assistance, please email us at info@aaccpta.org. Our next AACPTA meeting will be held virtually on Monday, January 13th at 5:30 p.m. Please make sure you email us for the link to register for the meetings for the 24-25 school year. Again, the email address is info@aaccpta.org. Before I go, I would like to encourage the board to consider fully funding the newly proposed budget, or soon to be proposed budget, to support our schools and educators as they work to continue improving Anne Arundel County Public Schools' progress. And finally, please let us know how we can support your PTA by contacting us at aaccpta.org or emailing info@aaccpta.org. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So next, we're moving on to item 4.03, our CAC report.
Good evening, and is that on? I can't tell. Good evening. Thank you, President Silkworth, Vice President Dent, Superintendent Bedell, and to repeat what everybody else has said, right? Returning members, and really, most importantly, thank you all for answering the call for public service. It's a very important calling. It's very important to this role in our community is very important for our children and the future of our community. So thank you so very much for answering that call, and congratulations for being here tonight. The CAC met most recently Monday, December 9th. We heard from Board Member Schalheim, who gave us a welcome and joined us throughout the meeting, and thank you very much for that and the contributions. Very helpful. We heard reports from our Board Policy Committee, our Calendar Committee, and representatives of the various committees, and the Anne Arundel County Council of PTAs, Michael Vasquez. Thank you very much. We then broke into small groups. For the second month in a row, we discussed the restorative practices policy, the freedom to read proposed policy, and the telehealth policy. We continue to work on those and should bring some recommendations or insight back to the policy committee of the board shortly. We also had we had the breakout sessions on those. Finally, we will be meeting next on January 13th. We'll be talking about the grading policy and as well as continuing to work on the 3 just mentioned. Thank you so much for the opportunity to serve and to work with you all on these. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And so next, we're going to move on to item 4.04, our policy committee report. Ms. Shahan.
Yes. Good evening, Hanukkah Sameach, and happy holidays. Before I get started, a little quick moment of personal privilege. I just want to wish my daughter a very happy 14th birthday. I've been on this. Thank you. I've been on this board long enough that this is the second meeting that has occurred during her birthday, and I just wish I could be home with her this evening. All right, so now the policy committee. The committee met virtually on Tuesday, December 10th. We discussed policy EH, emergency plans, and its accompanying regulation, and unanimously voted to move this policy to first reader, which will appear on the agenda of an upcoming meeting of the board. The committee also was made aware of a number of edits to JCCRAK, students arrested and charged with reportable offenses. And finally, the committee was made aware of a number of edits to a variety of different regulations as part of ongoing efforts by Ms. Wilson and her team to go through all regulations to ensure that all proper legal references are present, as well as references to related policies. I want to thank Ms. Wilson and her team for all the work she and them do every day, as well as to the staff that were present at the meeting. And this concludes this rendition of the policy committee report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shahan. And so now we're going to move on to item 4.05, our president's report. And I do have some things to report. On Friday, December the 6th, I had the opportunity to attend the Maryland Leadership Development Program at the Crown Hotel in Annapolis, and I was privileged to work with Dr. Pugh. And I'd like to thank Dr. Pugh for this great day of collaboration with other LEAs across the state. We did find that in Anne Arundel County, we're in a comparative state. We're in a great state. On Monday, December the 9th, Dr. Bedell and I met with Judge Silkworth and also Judge Crooks. Judge Crooks is the circuit court judge who now oversees the juvenile court, and we do believe that this is now a great opportunity to continue to collaborate with some of our important stakeholders to provide resources and mentors to our young students in crisis and in need. And I believe that this unique collaborative effort in the future will pay some great dividends for our students. On December the 11th, Dr. Bedell, Ms. Dent, and I had the honor to attend the monthly ARC TAC meeting at Serena Park Middle. For me, it was a homecoming because I attended so many of those meetings. Dr. Bedell did give a brief presentation. We answered some questions, and I think this was a very beneficial event for all of us. I would like to thank Christina, TAC president, for the invitation. We'd like to be back. Let me see. On Friday, the 13th of December, Miss Pullum and I attended the Unified Physical Education and Dance Winter Showcase at Glen Burnie High School. I've been to quite a few of these events, and so at this time I want to ask Miss Pullum. Miss Pullum, what did you think?
I thank you very much, President Silkworth. It was absolutely wonderful. This was my first event that I got to come and join and be a part of. When we have Belong, Grow, and Succeed on all of our materials, but walking in there and seeing just the electricity in that room. You had students with and without disabilities working together. You had schools, 6 schools that participated. You had the Special Olympics with the polar bear. And actually, I don't think any of them saw it as work. It was absolutely wonderful. We got to play some of the different, we got to go around and participate in some of the different activities that they had. But I just want to commend everyone who has touched this program, who has worked in this program, because you've got it. You've got it right on track. And I see students on social media excited that they are being accepted into the unified program. And I have to tell you, if you go in there and you walk away and you don't have a smile on your face, then you probably shouldn't work for the school system. So, sorry, just saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pullum. It clearly was a marvelous event. The positive relationships that we witnessed during this entire event were absolutely phenomenal. I look forward to the next one. So on Monday, the 16th, an in-depth workshop took place here in the boardroom with a presentation by staff based on the Maryland Report Card. We certainly thank Dr. Bedell and his great staff for this marvelous presentation and also for answering all of the questions that we have. So I want to make this comment. While a few schools may have experienced some declines, they have not scored as high, some of our schools, as we would like them to, or they would like to yet. That yet word is a huge word. The majority of our schools improved dramatically. We had some great growth in terms of schools across the county, no matter where they are. We are excited about this progress. And for me, I am not going to say that any of our schools faltered. Again, we may have had some schools that have not grown as much as we want. But I can just tell you, having been in the schools across this county, what's taking place in our schools, the relationships that are being built, the lessons that are being taught and learned, it is off the charts. So having said that, we are excited about the progress. And again, I want to thank Dr. Bedell and his staff because one of the things that we talked about was, is there a plan? Well, absolutely a plan. There's a plan at the district level, and there are plans at the local levels. All of our schools have a school improvement plan. And this data that we've gotten from the state, we will be using it to help drive those plans. So for me, it's hats off to our teachers, our students out there, because they've done a great job. On Tuesday, the 17th, Ms. Dent, Dr. Tobin, and I were invited to join the Governor's Children's Cabinet. This was a visit at Walter S. Mills Parole Elementary School. I have to say, speaking of schools, this is an amazing school. As is Hilltop, and I could go on and on, but this is an amazing school. We had the opportunity to tour the building and visit several classrooms, and I was so inspired by what I saw. Great instruction, great learning experiences, great relationship. Dr. Wright, State Superintendent, was there, and after our tour, she led a panel discussion, and she questioned Principal Cheryl Cox and Vice Principal Michelle Walker about progress that's being made and the wonderful collaboration that is taking place between so many stakeholders at that school. And so that's in Dr. Tobin's district. I wanted her to speak to this.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Yes, Walter S. Mills Parole is a remarkable school. It's got a great deal of history in our district, but Principal Cox, Assistant Principal Walker, and the incredible staff, educators, and students and families at that school are doing extraordinary things. The focus for a lot of the governor's cabinet meeting that day really was to talk about community schools. And I think, if I may say so, generally in this county, I think we do community school work extremely well, but it all began in the Annapolis cluster. And I think we have some outstanding examples of just how powerful the blueprint funding, which is what is supporting our community schools, is in changing lives. And I only wish that everybody could see and hear what we saw and heard that day when we were touring classes. We walked into a third grade class students were working on some of their CKLA, the new reading curriculum, and they were so engrossed in their groups. And some of those groups were the children, not working with teachers. About 5 adults walked into the room. Those kids didn't even look up. They were so taken up with what they were doing. And I think that is what you aim for. But that's just one example of the extraordinary work. So I just want to, again, congratulate Principal Cox, Assistant Principal Walker, and all the staff there for what they're doing, and thank them for hosting us and for giving us the opportunity to really demonstrate to so many leaders, because in addition to Dr. Wright, there were other secretaries of other state departments there, and I think they were blown away by what they saw. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tobin. I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention the annual Winter Wonderland Student Art Exhibit. Dr. Bedell, I think you know about that. Artwork from elementary schools across the Anne Arundel County. It's being showcased at the Anne Arundel County Public Schools Elementary Winter Wonderland exhibit at Annapolis Mall. And everybody should check that out. So finally, in my report, I would like to say to all of our stakeholders in Anne Arundel County, students, teachers, parents, staff, Dr. Bedell, our county council representative, our county executive, student Stuart Pittman, everyone who plays a role or has to play a role in our county. Please know that from my standpoint, we are blessed to have each and every one of you play your role in the great communities in this county that we serve. Our wealth is in the youth that we serve and teach. We do have many challenges ahead of us, but we will meet these challenges head on by collaborating and working together for the welfare of our great students. I thank all of you. Winter break is almost here. I know everyone's looking forward to that. So our goal will always continue to help our students belong, grow, and succeed. And we can and we will make that happen. That concludes the President's report. So at this time, we're moving on to item 4.06, Superintendent's report. Dr. Bedell.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome to everybody who's here today. And we're going to start off on this first slide. And I'm going to throw a little curveball because, Mr. Silkworth, I agree with you. I think this data speaks for itself. We will always defend the work that's happening in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. We never will have a problem, and we will never shy away from having the tough conversations around what we need to do to improve. But what happened yesterday, to Mr. Silkworth's point, is unacceptable. And Bridget, you're in here. This is not a shot at you. You've been amazing. So I just want, for the record, want people to know that. But I also know that folks have to label things in certain ways in order to get people to click. And ultimately that generates revenue because of the way that that traffic increases the ability for commercials or people to want to, promote what they're doing. But it's at the demise, to me, of a school district that I think is trending in the right direction. So we had two. First one was fair. School board studies results of report card. That was one. That was the paper-based title. Then on the online title, it read as the painted a picture that the board spent the entirety of the workshop focused on analyzing faltering schools. Now, we record everything that we do on these workshops, right? That was not the discussion. The discussion was primarily on the progress we're making, but also board members saying it will be good to have an understanding for the handful of schools that actually had some regression, why they had the regression, and how do we continue to work on that. But that was not the focus of the workshop. The workshop was to properly educate everybody on where we were, not that we were focusing on faltering schools. Because even with some of those schools that dropped, some of those schools were 5-star rated schools. They dropped somewhere within the 5s, or they dropped to 4s, or the 4s may have dropped to 3s. And these people are working very hard. And I think it takes away from people who are in here doing the tough work But I'm proud of the work that we're doing in Anne Arundel County. As you can see, 92% of our schools scored a 3 or better, compared to 83% at the state. Hilltop Elementary School increased by 2 stars. And we also have 21 of our schools that are within 3% of the next star level. And so I think it's just important that we understand that, unfortunately, this is what we will be dealing with. And we're not going to hesitate to call out media outlets when we think they're doing these things that ultimately are dismissive of the work that we're doing here in Anne Arundel County, and we will not hesitate. So thank you, Mr. Mosier, for your work and your advocacy. Thank you for your comments. And I want to thank all of our educators, because this district is absolutely trending in the right direction, and the data supports that. And that's what we will always counter any type of misinformation with. All right, on to the next one. I was really proud to be on hand at the Navy Marine Corps Stadium 11 days ago as Arundel High School won the Class 3A State Football Championship by rolling over Linga North from Frederick County 35-7. This was our county's 11th fall state championship this year, to go along with one individual championship. It was Arundel's first state football title since 1975, and our county's first since 2011. And I just want to put this in perspective. 11 state championships in one season. That's hard, everybody. There's a lot of school districts that can't even get 1 or 2. I know, I lived many years not even getting one single state title. And I think that has a lot to do with, people complained about start times. I'm looking at our data. I'm looking at these performances. I think that contributes to it. I think our ability to get kids to school on a daily basis, and then the quality of our educators, because these kids have to be eligible. If they're not eligible, we're not winning these state titles. So it is a collective effort that's happening up and down in this school district that is allowing for us to have these successes, in addition to what you've been seeing around academics. I also want to extend a special kudos to Arundel coach Jack Walsh, who's named the Baltimore Ravens Tackle Football Coach of the Year last week. With Coach Walsh in attendance, Ravens coach John Harbaugh made that announcement Friday at the team's headquarters in Owings Mills. Congratulations to Coach Walsh, who is in his 6th year as head coach at Arundel, and to everyone in the Arundel High School community. Sticking with football, congratulations to Annapolis High School running back Tyler Womack. He's the co-winner of this year's Rhodes Trophy, symbolizing the best high school player in the county. Womack shared the award with Archbishop Spalding's Malik Washington, who is ranked as the number 5 quarterback in the nation and is heading to the University of Maryland. Here's the really important part, though. Here's what Annapolis coach Dwayne Hunt told the Capital Gazette about Womack, who is also a Division I prospect. I want to thank every coach, from the private to the public schools, for recognizing the hard work and commitment from a kid that's gone through a lot. And not necessarily just for what he went through, but for the person he is. I'm hoping other kids can see that you can still play in public school, you can still be at Annapolis, and if you do all the right things, you can have those great awards and all of these opportunities that are awaiting Tyler. Congratulations to Tyler and to everyone in our athletics office who helps provide opportunities for all of our student athletes. And I think Mr. Silkworth took care of this one for us around the Winter Wonderland. So that runs through January 2nd. I also have more congratulations in order. And now this is to the 70 AACPS students who earned a place on one of 9 2025 Maryland All-State Music Ensembles, and the 11 students who earned recognition as alternates. These students competed against hundreds of others from across the state in a rigorous selection process to earn their spots. Our school district's music program is simply awesome, and I encourage everyone to attend one of the many concerts across our county this year. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. It is in times of crisis that our team members shine the brightest, and I want to give a shout out to the entire team at Sunset Elementary School and our entire team here at Central Office for the way in which they handled a community gas leak last week. The leak happened on a road just outside the school's campus. On our 2-hour early dismissal day, and essentially halted bus transportation for Sunset, our team worked to communicate the need for families to pick up students, but the staff at the school were the real heroes. They ensured that students were well cared for and that families arriving at the school were reunited with their students. And working with food and nutrition services, they made sure that students were fed until their families arrived. So huge thanks to Principal Lisa Colonel and to the team at Sunset. While the entire schedule for the day was thrown off, they showed every student what belong, grow, and succeed truly means. Just a quick update on our staffing. And as you can see, for the first time in a while, food service workers is under 100. We still are making some progress there. Teachers are at 65. Custodians down to 12 compared to 30 last year at this time. Crossing guards, 11 compared to 43. So I just have to say this. I'm just thankful for our HR department. I'm thankful for the folks that are people who work here, who are also going out and helping to recruit to help us fill these gaps. So I'm really thankful, and I just wanted to make sure that we provided that update. And then last but not least, everyone has heard me talk about the phenomenal job our team in human resources does every day. I want to conclude my report with yet another example. As part of the negotiated agreement with our Teachers Association that the board approved in October, HR had to go about the process of calculating retroactive pay for all Unit 1 members. That is a cumbersome, complicated, and time-consuming process that involves the payroll department looking at individual situations in many cases. And that, of course, has to be done manually. But I told you that this team was phenomenal. They worked day and night to make this happen as quickly as possible, and their extraordinary efforts mean that our Unit 1 employees will see that retroactive pay in their December 24th paycheck, right in time for the holidays. The work of HR is largely done behind the scenes and out of the public eye, but it's important that everyone in our county knows the value they're getting when money is invested in our school system. This is a great example of that and what we mean when we say belong, grow, and succeed. Mr. President, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. Dr. Tobin.
Yes, thank you. If I may, I just want to give an additional shout out to that amazing Panther, Mr. Tyler Womack, who has brought joy and pride to the entire Panther community. And he is an extraordinary young man. And I happen to know a couple of major institutions are fighting over him as we speak. I also want to give a shout out because he comes from a long line of Panthers. And I want to give a shout out especially to his grandparents, who I know are filled with pride, Elder James and Miss Angelina. You have an extraordinary grandson, and we're all thrilled to see what he does next. Thank you.
And Miss Dr. Tobin, you're right. I'm very pleased. I wasn't going to say this, but we mentor a group of young men over at Annapolis, and he's a part of that group, and it's just a pleasure to be able to have opportunity to interact with him. And I'm looking forward to what the future has in store for him, in addition to many of our other students that are trajecting in that path too.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to be moving on to our presentation, item 5.01, our superintendent's recommended fiscal year 2026 operating and capital budgets. Dr. Bedell.
Yes. That's the next MVP. for the NFL. I know I have to start off and get everybody loose a little bit. So, greetings, President Silkworth, Vice President Dent, members of the board, and to our new board members, welcome to what I think is going to be a phenomenal presentation. I just remember when I came here 2 years ago and went through this process, I was kind of shocked at the amount of work that Mr. Mosier, the finance team, all of the cabinet members put into this. I think we did about 10 dry runs, and you can imagine having to do these dry runs at 40 minutes a pop. It can be a lot, but I think what we have put together is something that will continue to move this district in the right direction. So I'm ready to get into this. President Silkworth, Vice President Dent, members of the board, elected officials, community members, employees, families, and most of all, students. On a warm August day 2 years ago, I stepped into the dais in this boardroom for the first time as the superintendent of this school district. Dr. Tobin introduced me at the outset of my initial board meeting, and I vividly remember my thoughts with regard to the polite applause that ensued. I appreciated it, but truthfully, I hadn't done anything yet. On that day, and every day since, I have sought to set a tone, an expectation that while I inherited a really good school district from those who came before me, I wasn't interested in being good. I'm still not interested in being good. I don't want us to be a district that's good and just flies under the radar. I want this school district to be great and to be on everybody's radar across the country. 28 months after that first board meeting, I can stand here tonight and tell you with pride and without any reservation that we are on our way. We have been relentless in our focus to move our students forward socially, emotionally, and academically. We have been unafraid to talk about where we are and where we want to go. Most importantly, we have been fearless about discussing what it will take to get there, about making the necessary changes, about innovating, about confronting challenges, and about implementing the things that are required to make us the best school district in Maryland and one of the premier districts in the country. After all, when we win as a school district, our entire county wins. The progress we've made has been possible first and foremost because of our amazing team members who come to work each and every day in our schools and offices focused on enhancing the educational experience we provide. And we have several of them here. I have asked each of them to examine their work and also identify places where we can modernize what we can do to be more efficient and more effective. Employees just starting their AACPS careers can see the fruits of those efforts firsthand. Gone are the days of stacks of employment paperwork and moving from station to station during onboarding sessions in this boardroom just to complete and submit required documentation. That has been replaced by an online experience that is faster, less cumbersome, requires no travel time, and is a far more enjoyable entry into the AACPS family. Teachers, school-based staff, students, and families will soon feel the same way when we transition from our current learning management system to the Canvas LMS next fall. Canvas will be a one-stop shop for instructional materials. It will reduce the workload for teachers, increase the ease of document storage and availability, and result in easier tracking of coursework and grades for students and their families. Our progress has also been due to a school board, elected officials, and a community that have invested their time and effort taking advantage of the opportunities we have made available to ask questions and communicate their needs and desires. Instead of shying away from these encounters, our team has been intentional about seeking them out. Leaders from across our school system and I have been and will continue to be visible at meetings in our communities so that we can have those crucial discussions. While we haven't and won't agree on everything, open dialogue is crucial to having buy-in, building trust, and achieving progress. It has been in those initial listening and learning sessions, our community conversations events, our partner in progress discussions, and the dozens and dozens of other meetings in which we have participated that ideas to move us forward as a system have been brought to light and nurtured. It has also been through these events that we have created and enhanced a collective effort, not an individual one. The new strategic plan that guides our work every day is a perfect example of that. It does not belong to me, to our team, or even to this board. It is our community's plan, developed by a group of 60 or so people involved in our school system in many different ways, but equally influenced by the hundreds of responses from focus groups that included everyone from students to families to employees and community members. The power of our strategic plan's 16-word vision, Anne Arundel County Public Schools is a school community where everyone can belong, grow, and succeed, lies in the fact that it is not the voice of one, but the voice of so many. School systems often encounter criticism because they refuse to move away from so-called legacy programs, ones that aren't achieving desired results, but that have been comfortable for staff. We have refused to follow that course. Instead, having the courage to make adjustments we believe are necessary. We have also been open about the fact that not everything will work. We have been clear about the need to be agile and to pivot when necessary, and also about having the grace to occasionally fail, something that I defined as the first attempt in learning. A year ago, we moved away from our elementary math curriculum to Reveal Math, which is designed to incorporate rich instruction and real-life connections that provide students with multiple opportunities to see themselves and how math relates to their everyday lives. This year, we moved forward with the Core Knowledge Language Arts Elementary Literacy Curriculum, which infuses all 5 of the key science of reading pillars: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. Both sets of high-quality instructional materials were adopted after input that included multiple stakeholders. Again, these are changes made through collective conversations instead of in isolation. The same can be said for the learning management system I referenced earlier. We will incorporate even more stakeholder involvement in that project during our early adopters phase in the 4th quarter of this school year. We have also not been afraid to change educational models. Following visits last year to see the programs at both Phoenix Academy and Mary Moss at J. Albert Adams Academy, I had many conversations about the best way to improve instructional delivery to the students with special needs and those with emotional disabilities served by these 2 schools. Again, we engaged not just central office administrators, but teachers and others in these buildings to work directly with our students every day. As a result of those discussions, we changed the focus at both schools. Phoenix Academy is now an educational option setting for students in grades 6 through 12 who attend via the parent choice application process or through a discipline sanction. Mary Moss at J. Albert Adams Academy is now a public separate day school for students whose individualized education plan dictates placement in this setting. I have visited both campuses this year and have been very pleased with the progress we're seeing. I am confident this direction is a better fit for our students and for our educators, and we will continue to offer enhancements in both of those programs. When it comes to effective instructional delivery, we have been severely hamstrung, particularly at the secondary level, by the increasing distraction of cell phones. This has been an issue not just here in Anne Arundel County, but around the country, and it is causing people to leave the education field. Rare were school visits where this topic did not come up over my first 2 years. It was one of the most mentioned things by teachers, school staff, and families. Cell phones have taken time away from academics, have made classrooms more difficult to manage, and have been major factors in bullying, fights, and the like. So we made a change, enacting new cell phone guidelines this fall that allow high school students to use their phones only at lunch and require middle and elementary schools to have them put away at all times. Students didn't like it. Trust me. I know. I heard it on every one of the secondary visits I conducted this school year. And truthfully, board and community, I probably just simply needed to stay out of the cafeterias because that's where I was bombarded by students. And this was an example of some of that conversation right there. But here's what I share with our students. We have you in school for 19% of the hours in a week. Please give us that time, and you have the other 81%. I also made our students this deal. We won't totally ban phones, as some other school districts have done. If you show us you can do what we are asking you to do. I told everybody that I had faith in our students to do the right thing. And for the most part, they have. They rose to the occasion. Now, while we still have some work to do, our classrooms are more orderly, have fewer distractions. Teachers have told me they can get through their instruction more easily. Students in my teen advisory group also reported that most of their classrooms have gotten on board with the new guidelines. And I believe strongly that this move will stem frustration and keep more teachers employed in our county. Now, it's easy to stand and talk about change and to ask people to invest in bringing that change about. In the end, however, we have to produce a return on that investment. I'm proud to say to everyone in our county that your investment in our children and our school system is paying dividends. In the latest Maryland report card results released earlier this month, 92% of our schools earned a 3, 4, or 5-star on the 5-star scale, and 53% of our schools are in the top 2 tiers. Those percentages far outpaced the state again this year, and the 21 schools that improved their rating by at least 1 star, led by Hilltop Elementary School's 2-star gain, are more evidence of the sustained growth we are seeing. A key data point in those results is that 10 of those 21 schools are community schools as designated by the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. Another 17 community schools increased their total points by at least 1%, moving them closer to earning another star and providing more evidence that our investment of state community school funds, and in many cases, federal Title I dollars, is both sound and wise. It is this kind of progress that I worry will be stymied should the state or federal lawmakers trim either funding source. The Maryland report card is just one measure, though. We have seen sustained increases over the last 3 years in the number of students taking advanced placement exams, the average score on those exams, and the percentage of students scoring a 3 or higher, the generally accepted mark to earn college credit. In addition, 8 of our schools have been named to this year's College Board 2024 AP Honor Roll. We are also now administering the pre-SAT 8-9 to all 9th graders at no cost as an additional step to measure AP potential, increase our number of future national merit scholars, and provide additional other scholarship opportunities. The pre-SAT administration also helps our students to become familiar with the assessment. It reduces test anxiety, but it also helps to build stamina when they have to take it on the actual SAT day during their junior year. The latest Maryland Comprehensive Assessment Program proficiency rates show increases in English language arts and math, as well as a narrowing of gaps between African American and white students. While our scores are not yet where we want them to be, we have the highest year-to-year increases in the Baltimore area. We are also 3rd in the state in English language arts and 4th in math
in those year-to-year increases. Once again, I want to note improvement among our community schools. We have seen increases in almost every assessed area, and the percentage of students who are chronically absent at these schools has fallen by more than 5 points. This is more proof that those direct blueprint and Title I funds, when used strategically, can have significant positive impacts on students. The ultimate measure of any school system is its graduation rates. While our rate for the class of 2024 will not be released until February, our team is closely monitoring the data that goes into calculating it. I have every reason, and I mean every reason, to believe that when our rate is published, the result will reflect countless hours of work that have gone into bringing about positive change. We continue to monitor scores of data in every regard, and the trends are very positive. This school district is absolutely moving in the right direction, and you can see that on this chart noted by the progression of seeing green. Green shows growth, and the goal is to have us have green across the entirety of this chart, and then to continue to strive to get us to where 100% of our kids are hitting mastery levels across the board. Our work to make improvements has not been limited to classrooms. With the help of this board, the county executive, and the county council, we secured funding to bring back middle school athletics to our county for the first time in decades. This spring, our students in grades 6 through 8 will be able to compete in boys and girls soccer. This is a win-win scenario for our students and communities because it provides middle schoolers with meaningful outlets to develop healthy relationships and enhance athletic skills after school hours in what may otherwise be idle time. We have confronted many challenges over the last 2 years. I am proud of the way we have built a collective trust and tackled them together in an open and transparent way. In my first year, we successfully navigated a shift in school start and dismissal times led by our board to hours that are healthier for all students. This year, we implemented what I believe is the largest redistricting ever in Anne Arundel County, moving about 6,400 students in 7 of our 14 clusters. There is no more emotional undertaking than one in which a student is asked to change schools. But I am proud of our entire team, particularly in the facilities division, for the time and effort that went into this necessary change. From the initial work of our consultant to my recommendations to the plan adopted by the board, this was a transparent process filled with opportunities for input. It is my expectation that the systemic approach and precedent we set forth in phase 1 will be carried forward into phase 2 when it begins later this school year, and that once again, everyone, no matter whether they agree with a final decision or not, will feel as if they had an opportunity to have a voice. In my first 2 budget recommendations, we have placed an emphasis on people. I have been very open about the fact that we need to show our people that they are valued, because it is absolutely impossible to have great programs without great people to lead them. On average, our employees have seen 13% increases in their direct compensation over the last 2 years. That's in addition to incentives, such as the $2,000 bonus for special education teachers, the $1,000 bonuses for employees as a show of appreciation for their work during times of significant staff shortages, and a targeted increase to first-year teachers to bring their salaries from 19th in the state to 4th in a single year. It's also in addition to the indirect compensation we provide to employees, things such as healthcare benefits, the value of paid time off, and pension funding paid by AACPS. These and similar items can add as much as 40% to an employee's overall compensation. They are critical to our ability to recruit and retain employees, in an increasingly competitive job market. We have taken other approaches as well, like shifting to a virtual workday on Tuesday before Thanksgiving, a day on which we have parent-teacher conferences at schools to allow employees to do their work, but perhaps from a different location as they journey to be with their families and friends for the holiday. It has all been designed to relay a simple message to our employees. We want you here. We do appreciate you. Belong, grow, and succeed applies just as much to you as it does to our students. Those are critical efforts that will continue in this budget. The work we have done together has had a dramatic positive impact on the number of vacancies since I first arrived. From classroom teachers to custodians, bus drivers, and teaching assistants, we have been able to reduce openings and therefore enhance the educational experience for all of our students. For example, our multi-pronged approach has resulted in a 76.7% reduction in classroom teacher vacancies over a 2-year period. On the first day of classes this year, 99% of our classrooms were staffed with certificated or licensed teachers. Our work is also increasing the profile of our school district and bringing more students to our classrooms. A recent Wallet Hub survey ranked Maryland third in the nation in education. A separate survey by Test Prep Insight asking families which school districts they would most want their children to be in if they had the choice put AACPS 40th in the nation and number 1 in the DMV region. It should be no surprise then that while a number of school systems are still experiencing enrollment declines, our enrollment is nearly back to pre-pandemic levels. We have about 700 more students in our system today than we did a year ago, and we are projected to continue growing. The needs of our students are also far different today than they were when the pandemic began in 2020. The number of multilingual students we educate has risen by 38% in that time. The number of students receiving free and reduced price meals is up more than 32%, and our population of students with special needs has increased by 17%. But also, the kindergarten expansion mandated by the blueprint has resulted in more than 1,000 additional pre-K3 and pre-K4 seats that have prioritized economically disadvantaged students with disabilities and multilingual learners. Those dramatic increases present more opportunities for us to address student needs, and we've detailed them in publicly available scorecards that accompany our strategic plan. This budget is the next step in addressing those needs. Throughout this process, I asked our team to develop and put forth proposals that are necessary to propel us toward becoming a truly great school system, but to do so with an eye toward both efficiency and the larger budgetary picture in which we find ourselves. Governor Westmore's comments last week at the Maryland Association of Counties Convention made it clear that the state's projected multi-billion-dollar shortfall will impact our school system in some way, even if the exact nature of that impact has yet to be determined. So while the advocacy for our students is and will continue to be fierce, we are also aware of the likely need to be flexible. In addition to employee compensation, the $1.8 billion operating budget I am recommending to this Board of Education focuses our efforts on 3 key areas: special education, early literacy, and multilingual learners. We cannot be the great school system that I expect and that I know everyone wants without significant additional investment in these areas. My recommendation includes 155 positions and more than $16.3 million to be utilized by the Division of Specialized Instruction and Early Intervention. services to enhance student support and outcomes. The number of students with special needs has risen by 5% in each of the last 2 years, and the required services stipulated on individualized education plans are greater and more complex than ever. I remain adamant that we must do everything we can to help each and every single child develop a sense of belonging. This recommendation is a large step forward in that effort. Of the 155 positions, 91 are classroom teachers and instructional staff, and 28 more are critical IEP facilitators who can support legally mandated IEP process requirements, relieving significant workload from our classroom teachers. Another 26 of those positions are for our Birth to 5 services program, where the number of students we serve has increased by 23% over the last 2 years. With many of those students in our pre-K classrooms, we have not received special education positions for student growth in our budget in 3 years. Hear me out. In 3 years, this is a critical need. And if it is not addressed, I promise you, these special educators we've been able to hire and bring in will find somewhere else to work. Under the blueprint requirements, the need for pre-kindergarten classes continue to grow. There are 17.3 positions and nearly 1.7 million in my recommendation to add staffing to expand our pre-K program for 4-year-olds by 4 classrooms. I've also included $2 million for early intervention teachers to replace expiring blueprint funding and $275,500 for staffing as we begin to convert the Carver Professional Development Center in Gambrills into our county's 4th early education center. The growth in multilingual learners continues to be among the fastest in our school system, and we simply have to do more to ensure those students and their families receive the instruction and support they need. This plan contains more than $2 million for those efforts, inclusive of 18 English language development teachers, 2 bilingual pupil personnel workers, and a shift of 6 bilingual facilitator positions to 12-month schedules to be better able to serve families year-round. Now, I believe we have done a good job addressing the social and emotional needs of our students as we have emerged from the pandemic. However, we must do more. And this recommendation funds 3.5 additional school counselors to help do that at the elementary level at a cost of $420,000. Ultimately, our goal is to prepare our students not just to be ready for college and careers, but to excel in whatever field they choose. To do that, we need to provide as many opportunities for students to explore a variety of interests as we can. To that end, this plan includes more than $700,000 for increases in co-curricular clubs and paid apprenticeship opportunities for our students. That has been a success. My recommendation also contains more than $6 million for laptops for high school students as we transition them away from Chromebooks to devices that are more appropriate at that level. This will leave more Chromebooks available for students at the elementary and middle school levels and mitigate the gap caused by the large number of damaged or unreturned devices we have seen in recent years. I've also included $1.5 million to replace expiring grant funding for our iReady diagnostic system and $1.1 million for the new Canvas learning management system. The safety and security of our students and staff continues to be of the utmost importance, and I have said repeatedly that we are exploring many options in that area. Between operating and capital recommendations, I have included more than $3.5 million to construct more security vestibules at schools and enhance our security camera systems and launch a pilot program to harness state-of-the-art technology and install non-invasive weapons detection systems at 2 yet-to-be-determined schools. These security measures are just a part of this equation, though. We must continually work with our students and have the ongoing involvement of our families and community members in the lives of our students, both at home and in school. There is also nearly $1.6 million in this recommendation to complete the rollout of our middle school athletics program, and $3.2 million to open the New Village Academy Public Charter School. To meet more needs resulting from our enrollment growth, I've included $600,000 for 11 positions for alternative vehicles as we continue to expand that service to students. As I said at the outset, nothing we do is possible without our amazing people. We have worked very hard to show them they are appreciated and have been staunch advocates for funding to improve what I still consider to be subpar compensation levels when you look at neighboring school districts. In no way does that advocacy stop in this budget recommendation. I have been very pleased that we have been able to achieve harmony with our employee bargaining units in the last 2 years, and our leadership team continues to work hard to build positive relationships with these groups. I have and continue to urge them to join forces with us to advocate for the continued compensation increases for all employees. We are far stronger as a team than as individual units, and I look forward to working with them to secure the nearly $57 million in compensation and benefits funding I am recommending in this budget. That includes a step or step equivalent for all eligible employees, plus a 3% cost of living adjustment for all employees. Over and above those increases, my budget recommendation contains compensation enhancements in every bargaining unit. They include $1.4 million for blueprint mandated stipends for national board certified teachers, $428,000 related to the transition of teachers to the new AACPS career ladder, the first of its kind in the state. This not only meets blueprint requirements, but also offers a unique, structured, and progressive pathway for teachers to advance professionally, earn additional compensation, and expand their leadership roles within the school system. $220,000 for the first of a multi-year plan to adjust salary band placement for principals and assistant principals. $658,000 to bring the hourly rate of all Unit 3 employees to at least $18 per hour, and $730,000 to upgrade salaries for eligible teacher assistants at the pre-K and ECI levels. Our people and our programs all benefit our students in settings that we continue to see improvement on a daily basis. And I also want to say a quick word about the capital budget, for which the board has already provided preliminary approval. We are in the final phases of transforming education in the Old Mill cluster, and the $204.7 million fiscal year 2026 capital budget I bring before you again tonight gets us almost to that finish line. Nearly $120 million of that plan is allocated to construction funding for a new Center of Applied Technology North, a new Old Mill High School, and a new Old Mill Middle North. They are the final 3 pieces of a plan that has involved building 7 schools, and by the time it is completed, will have taken 12 years. The rewards of that work can already be seen in places like Rippling Woods Elementary School, Quarterfield Elementary School, Old Mill Middle South, and Severn Run High School. We have a lot of work to do, especially at our middle schools. And I've been very, very vocal about the condition of those middle school facilities. I urge everyone to continue to advocate for school construction funding with our elected officials at the county and state levels. They have been great supporters, yet there continues to be significant needs. By their very nature, budget addresses are filled with numbers and lay out a roadmap for the future. However, behind every single number I have mentioned tonight, and the thousands contained in the full budget recommendation book, is a child. A precious child whose future we hold in our collective hands. Our children, each and every single one of them, are depending on us to obtain the necessary resources to use them to shape that future. This is an amazingly beautiful, diverse school district in so many ways. That diversity is something on which we can and must continue to build upon. For me, where we can go from here is clear. We can become the greatest school district in this country, period. If we have the resources, if we do the things that our strategic plan calls for, if we stay true to being honest about the data, attacking that data in a very strategic way, and moving the needle for all of our students, we will become an absolutely phenomenal school district in this country. That results in a higher quality of life, not just for our students and their families, but for every single person who chooses Anne Arundel County as their home. Our students are counting on us to help them belong, grow, and succeed. It is up to us as adults to make that a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. Okay, well, moving on to item 5.02, our 2025-2026 school year calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will pass this presentation over to Bob Mosier, our Chief Communications Officer, who's the overseer of the school calendar.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. I'm not sure how I got stuck following that presentation, but we'll give it a shot. Good evening, President Silkworth, Vice President Dent, members of the board, Dr. Bedell. I'm Bob Mosier, Chief Communications Officer for the district, here to present item 5.02, the calendar committee's recommendation on the 2025-2026 school year calendar. Calendar comes to you under policy IB, which stipulates that the school system and Dr. Bedell appoint a calendar committee whose sole purpose is to submit a recommended calendar or calendars to this board for consideration. It also stipulates that the primary objective of the calendar ultimately approved by this board is one that supports the instructional program. In that regard, the calendar supports the first four goals in our strategic plan that you see highlighted on the screen. The calendar committee, which I facilitate, consists of a broad range of representatives. You see those listed there. It is intentionally a mixture of students, representatives from employee bargaining units, and representatives of parent groups and key offices from across the system. The committee met on December the 2nd and started with a calendar that was adapted from the calendar that you approved for this fiscal year. Under the calendar that was provided to the committee, the first day of classes for students would be Monday, August 25th, with the last day of classes Monday, the 15th of June, 2026. That start date is a day earlier than this year, but the end date is 3 days later than this year. And that is because 3 days on which this school system closes are all weekdays in the 2025-26 school year. Only one of them is a weekday in this year. The calendar provided to the committee contains all of the current components of this year's calendar, with the traditional breaks that we have built in. It also contains closings of the high schools on the date of their graduation, the one-day closing of elementary and middle schools to get them down to 180 days, and we do professional development on those days, as I think you all know. The 12 early dismissal days, so 4 Project Unity days and 8 at the end of the marking periods, and the 3 inclement weather days, which is the minimum required by state law to be built into a calendar. It's important for you to know that this calendar does not presuppose any action by the Maryland General Assembly with regard to calendar flexibility. So should the General Assembly do something, we may be back before you with a different idea. The committee, as we have done for them in prior years, was given information related to a post-Labor Day start. So if we start on Monday, the 2nd of September, the last day of classes for students would be Tuesday, the 23rd of June. So we started by asking people on the committee if anybody wanted to discuss a post-Labor Day start, and you won't be surprised that no one did. So we contained our discussion to pre-Labor Day starts. There were 2 motions made by members of the committee that I will discuss individually for you. The first was to move what I'll call the day after Halloween closing for elementary and middle schools from the 3rd of November, which is a Monday, to Wednesday, the 12th. We have traditionally closed in the last couple of years on the day after Halloween, right? The parent groups gave us that advice when we were looking for this day to do, because trick-or-treaters could then have the day off. So Halloween's a Friday next school year. So that day was Saturday. We moved it to Monday. So the motion was to move it to Wednesday for a couple of reasons. First, in the week that ends in Halloween, there are 2 early dismissal days already on Monday and Tuesday. That's the end of the marking period. And lots of folks felt that having that close was really difficult for parents. One of the TAC representatives on the committee, who's a longtime member of the committee, brings us polling data from polls that he does with Unit 1 members. And there are about 82%, if I remember that number right, who wanted to leave it on the Monday that it was on. There is and lots of school-based folks and departmental folks here had some consternation about that, because not just of student attendance. So instructional data has provided us with some data that the student attendance this year, November 1st, was a Friday. So if you look at the Friday before and the Friday after November 1st, it was about 8 or 9% lower attendance rate than if it was on a Thursday or Wednesday. And then there were professional development concerns with regard to attendance, professional development, again, because teachers tend to take off, or more likely teachers and staff, I shouldn't just say teachers. And then that disrupts the continuity of professional development and the integrity of it. So the consensus of the committee was to move that date to the 12th of November, so that you will see that in the documents that are provided to you. The second motion, I want to give you a little bit of background before I get into the motion. It has been the practice of the school system to look at the Christmas winter break, and if there are 2 or more school days before Christmas Eve, we open, and if there's one day, then we close on that day. So if you look at this year, Christmas Eve is a Tuesday. We are closed next Monday, right? And New Year's Day is a Wednesday, and so we're open on the 2nd and the 3rd. The opposite is true next year. So the calendar we provided to the committee has schools open on the 22nd and the 23rd of December, and then closed on the 2nd of January. So the motion was to extend the winter break to include the 22nd and the 23rd. And then you have to add, when you close those 2 days, you have to add 2 school days to the year. And the motion was to add those days to the end of the year, moving the last day of school from the 15th of June to the 17th of June, which is a Wednesday. So here's the discussion that ensued, and I will say to you that the 3 points that are on this screen here were voiced loud and clear and in a unified fashion by the 2 students on the committee. They really led this discussion. One of them a high school student, one of them a middle school student. And the top one there was a lot of discussion about this, about moving 2 days of instruction before MCAP and AP and IB, and putting them at the end of the year where they happen after. That marking period is already a little disjointed with where Thanksgiving falls. So that was an issue for some folks on the committee. And then again, Thanksgiving is late, so it's already a really tricky marking period. Here are some other points of discussion: the ability of families to secure 2 full weeks of childcare during that break if we were to close on that day, the impact on families who depend on schools for meals, the past practice piece that I spoke to you about, and then 2 related to weather. One, that significant inclement weather could move the end of the school year past the Juneteenth holiday, and you're into that week. That's an issue not just for families and for teachers and other staff, but it's a huge issue for our instructional data division, which has to complete report cards and other submissions by the 30th of June. And then if there's 1 or 2 days or 1 day in that marking period where schools are closed, that marking period is 43 days as it is. So a closing there would make it really difficult and really short. There was discussion in favor of taking those 2 days. One is the impact on social emotional wellness and the positive impacts that would bring. The poll conducted by the TAC rep on the committee, 93% of teachers wanted to take those 2 days off and have the 2 full weeks. So it doesn't, and I'll skip down to the last point, so it doesn't result in a broken week there. And then the other point was it's a time when families from other countries go home to those countries, and this would allow them to do that for 2 days without having to impact their attendance. Ultimately, it was pretty clear. Let me say before I say that, this was probably the most robust and well-reasoned discussion that we've had since I've been facilitating the calendar committee. It was a really, really good discussion. It was clear that nobody was going to reach a consensus on one or the other. So what the calendar committee decided to do was bring both calendars to you so that we could have this discussion about all those factors publicly. You could have them to weigh, and you could, should you decide to do so, put both calendars out for public comment and allow the public to weigh in and be aware of all of these factors. So that's what we're prepared to do. Should you wish for us to do that, we can put these calendars online tomorrow. We have a survey tool that can easily be launched tomorrow, and then we'll provide that information to you before the 8th of January, at which you need to adopt a calendar. I would say to you that the 8th is a critical date because we have to adopt the calendar before we can register students for classes. And so we're already adopting a calendar a little late because we wanted to wait till the new board members were here and so that you could have a voice in it. So with that, I'll stop and answer any questions you may have.
Ms. Schellheim.
You know, calendar's my least favorite
I know it is,
subject.
Mrs. Shaw.
Every year it brings me a lot of PTSD. First, I want to thank you for this very thoughtful presentation. I want to thank the calendar committee and all its members for their input on this, all of our bargaining units, the students, etc. I'm just going to make a comment. I think it's great that the calendar committee wants to bring two calendars before us for public input. I think more public input is better than less. So it would be my opinion to let that ride and to put them both out. So that's not a motive. That's not a motion. It's just a comment at this point. I'm not sure that one needs a motion, but if that's the case, I'm happy to make one at the appropriate time. But I just want to say thank you. And even though I have a lot of post-traumatic stress related to calendars, I think this sounds pretty good. Thanks.
Ms. Hamdawi.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mosher, for a wonderfully informative presentation. I would like to thank you and the committee as a whole. I'm thrilled that this will be available for public comment because I think it's really, really important when we're making decisions like this to have adequate public input. This is something that impacts 85,000 students and their families. I would also just like to express my support for the second calendar, Calendar B. I do think that 2-week winter break works a lot better, but that is certainly something for later discussion.
Thank you. Dr. Tobin.
Thank you. Yes, I just want to thank you for this presentation. Clearly a lot of great work went into this, and I just want to say this makes me really hope we can get the 180-day thing lifted as I watch this, because these are some pretty, there's an easier way around some of these choices we have to make if we can get out of that straitjacket that we're in. So just looking forward to that possibility. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more lights, I don't, this is not an action item.
We're certainly prepared to push it out tomorrow for public comment if that's the will of the board. We're happy to do
Yeah, okay, well,
think you need
Ms. Dent?
Just gonna say, do we need a motion? I don't think so.
Go ahead.
Motion to publish the calendar for a period for public comment.
Second.
So we do have a motion, we have a second, but Ms. Shalham, you have a concern?
Yeah, I do. I think the motion should be to push both calendars out for public comment, not a calendar. So was that your
Yeah.
intent, both calendars?
I apologize for that verb, that subject verb disagreement there. Push both calendars out.
And are we still gonna have that same second? We do, okay. So we do have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Shalham?
Just one more point, and I think it would be helpful for us to consider on the 8th, before we make a decision or in advance of the 8th, is to know what our absentee rate would be on the 2nd and the 3rd this year, because it's a 2-day week. I'm thinking it's going to be low for both students and teachers and staff, but I would love to have that data prior to making a decision on the 8th.
We can get that. We'll bring that for you.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more lights, Ms. Howe?
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. McDermott?
Aye.
Ms. Pulliam?
Aye.
Ms. Shallheim?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Ms. Hamdawi?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mosher. Okay, well, moving on to our award of contracts. Do I hear a motion to bundle?
Motion to bundle items 6.01 to 6.05.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, Dr. Bedell, we need a recommend.
Thank you, Mr. President. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education authorize the award of contracts on the consent items numbered 6.01 through 6.05.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I see no lights. Ms. Howe?
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. McDermott?
Aye.
Ms. Pulliam?
Aye.
Ms. Shallheim?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Ms. Hamdawi?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
And Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, item 7.01, action item, administrative personnel appointments. Dr. Bedell.
Mr. President, the superintendent recommends that the personnel listed on the attached sheet be promoted and/or appointed as discussed in executive close.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe?
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. McDermott?
Aye.
Ms. Pulliam?
Aye.
Ms. Shallheim?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Ms. Hamdawi? Oh, I apologize. Ms. Dent?
Aye.
And Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. We're moving on to item 7.02, fiscal year 2025, second quarter operating budget supplemental and fund transfer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Matt Stansky will come up. I'll go ahead and submit the recommendation at this point. The superintendent recommends approval of the second quarter operating budget supplemental and fund transfer for FY 2025 to be submitted to the county council. Mr. Stansky will take us through this.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. Mr. Silkworth, members of the board, for the record, Matt Stansky, Chief Financial Officer, before you today with our traditional second quarter transfer and supplemental request. Just to walk through again the process real quick. Through board action tonight, this will be submitted to the county executive to propose in county legislation to the county council, as the county council is our final fiscal authority. But before you is a $18.4 million supplemental request, all driven through grants, restricted grants. So this is typically the supplemental and transfer where we appropriate additional grant dollars, and we can really bucket this into three sort of main categories. It's recurring grant awards that came in higher than anticipated. It is multi-year grant awards that funds are being carried over into this fiscal year, which we will need to spend, or it's an actual combination of the two. I'll walk you through each grant really quickly. The largest one is to close out our ESSER 3 grant. It's about $12.3 million. This is for remaining summer school bills, the remaining chillers that will be installed here in January for the new chillers that we purchased, and new Chromebooks as well. So that's the $12.3 million. We are closing out the tutoring grant, which will expire here at the end of this month, that provided tutoring services over the past 4 years. The Maryland Leads, $2.6 million. This is funding we use to purchase science of reading materials for our students. So good use of funds there. And then our traditional titles 1 through 4, which is our annual entitlement grants that we get from the federal government. And those grant awards all came in slightly higher than what we were anticipating. And so with that, the details are in the board exhibit. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
Okay, I do not see any questions, but do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve Dr. Bedell's recommendation. We have a second, and seeing no lights, Ms. Howe.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. McDermott?
Aye.
Ms. Pulliam?
Aye.
Ms. Schulheim?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Ms. Hamdowie?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
And Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8.01, our monthly financial status report. Are there any concerns, questions? Okay, seeing none, item 9.0, public comments on non-agenda items. We do not have anyone that will be commenting this evening. And so that does bring us to the end. I have a couple announcements. The policy committee will be meeting at 3 o'clock, a virtual meeting, January 7. Our next board meeting will be a 12 p.m. meeting here in the boardroom, January the 8th. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Consensus? Okay. Good night, everyone.